and welcome to 27 by 40. My name is Chris.
This is Emmett.
And this is a video podcast where we talk about movie posters. Every episode, we each pick 5 posters from a given year. This episode, the year is 2004. And we talk about them.
Well, we do basically our top 5 of...
Top 5 movie posters, yeah.
Yeah, posters that we like on some kind of, aesthetic level.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, the movies that we like the movie, or sometimes movies we like won't necessarily have good posters.
Yeah,
so
seeing the movie, not a
entirely
requirement.
about the poster.
Yeah. 2004, a little more recent than a lot of the years we've been doing.
Yeah, we've been waiting. We finally, we've done like every other decade pretty much.
Yeah.
We were like, we got to do 2000s.
Yeah. Didn't start out, when looking at the posters for the year, didn't start out too great. Definitely
It's horrible.
Deep in that, let's just put the entire cast on the poster and then the title above their heads era.
It's also the sort of, the graphic design is just...
it's very bland.
I hate it.
Yeah.
On
the plus side, it makes the good ones stand out.
There's some really great movies from that year.
Oh, with just
2004
trash posters.
Is not a bad year for movies.
Nope.
I really enjoy several movies that came out that year.
Yeah.
But posters wise, it's weak.
Yes.
It's very
I did end up delving a little bit into the foreign poster market. Britain and France. I looked at
France.
Yeah. These posters come from France. But
the other problem that I had was that some of the ones that I picked, they're okay, 80% of this I love, and then the other 20%, I'm like, I wish they'd done that differently.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we've had that before here and there, where this poster's great, except for this weird little bit at the bottom here, but we're not I
don't know. It really stood out for me on this one because I really had to kind of compromise a little bit, where I was like, I'm not 100% happy with this, but I like the rest of it so much that I kind of have to go with it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So
I was a little bit more. I was in a more forgiving mood when I picked my posters for this year, and so I think there's some of them are a little more like, wasn't this something you guys usually complain about? I'm like, yeah, but I like it in this instance, kind of situation. But mostly though, I am on my BS for posters as standard as you'll see as we go through these. But all right, so let's begin here. You're up first.
Okay.
With
I can't remember the order that I did. Right. So this is the Passion of the Christ. No matter what you may think about the film or about the subject matter, it's a very strong poster.
This was my number 6
in terms of striking. Boom. I mean, I personally, I was not raised in any way religious or anything, but it's something that I don't have anything inherently against it.
You've never seen?
I've seen parts of it.
Yeah.
I've never. Yeah. I just don't feel a need to. It doesn't.
It's all right.
I don't feel like it's for me.
Yeah. It's. I'm saying. I saw it. I was like, it's all right.
I just don't really think it's for me. But
better poster than movie.
But as long as people aren't using religion as an excuse to do bad things, to be not good people, then, which I feel like is kind of the opposite of what it should be used for.
Yeah.
Then I really have no problem with religion at all. I was never raised in it. It's not something I ever. So, for me, it's a very neutral thing, and I approach it entirely from the cinematic point of view. And I mean, when you're trying to tell a story and
the JC cinematic universe, right?
When you want to make an impression, that's a pretty strong foot forward,
Yeah, no, it's good. It's
the color palette is obviously very
nice, striking.
It's a very common running thing for me to have a lot of orangey, yellowy and dark, things in my picks. It's a strong poster.
No, it's a good one. Like I said, it was almost on my list.
Regardless of, if you can kind of put aside and not even really think about what it's about.
Here's the thing. Change the name on this. This just looks like a horror movie poster, right? Like,
Yeah, well, some would say that.
Well,
it is
yeah,
a
I mean,
horror
it is
movie
kind of like a horror movie poster. Yeah,
in terms
it's
of
like a horror movie. Yeah,
what it's actually
but
depicting.
but
So,
but yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. All right, my number 5. So this is very much like, isn't this what you always complain about?
Yeah.
But some about like the composition and how it pops.
well, I will
love
say that in its favor, by limiting the color palette, they made it not as much of like an eyesore as what might otherwise be.
It doesn't feel slapdash.
Yeah,
you know. Like effort was put into like, oh, we're gonna put these characters here. We're gonna do this.
Well, having that whole red and white theme, you know, which obviously goes with the car.
Yeah.
And the stripes and stuff. It's so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for this type of poster, it's about as good as you can possibly get.
Yes.
But it's just, this is never gonna be my kind of poster.
Yeah. It's that
awesome
like,
movie though.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Hey, they're the man.
If anything, underrated because I don't think people realize how fun it actually is.
It is one of those like we've done on the What We've Watched podcast. We've done twice now. We've done underrated films.
Yeah.
And I think this would fit, but I kind of like gloss it over because who's in it?
Yeah.
Well, it's like Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller. It's a huge movie, right? And it's like, no, like nobody saw it.
It was successful at the box office.
Oh, was it?
Not massively, but it did.
I just feel like don't know anybody other than you who've seen it.
Yeah.
And we both really enjoyed it.
Mixed reviews from critics, but it earned 170 million worldwide on a 60 million budget.
I guess that's all right.
So it broke past that double the budget level.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not technically underrated in that sense, but it feels underrated in the sense of like you just don't see very many people reference it or really, you know, acknowledge that how well it works.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. It really is like it's not quite the follow up, but it does have like of Zoolander.
Yeah, well, because Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
Yeah. And so it's just like, don't watch Zoolander 2, watch Starsky and Hutch instead.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay. So, you're number 4.
4, yeah. So it's the Alamo.
I didn't see this.
It's a nice, I just think it's a really nice overall poster. I was kind of conflicted where to put it because it's maybe not as like memorable as some other ones, but it just kind of works overall.
I think very much, very much.
I like the way they have the signatures for the characters under the actors.
That's cool.
And
like the silhouette, the armies are like a silhouette.
Yeah, and the sort of like the color like the gradient in general, how it's like all in like strips that kind of go up or down depending on how you want to look at it, but like how it kind of transitions from a light to a dark in steps. And
I also like the slight twist on the like never forget the Alamo to like you will never forget, like it feels very commanding. It feels very like
you will never forget this extremely average movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of, unfortunately,
it was maybe
better poster than film.
Well, and a tagline that was maybe a little too
ambitious.
Like oh yeah, this is such an amazing movie. You'll never forget this movie.
It's
like meh. I feel like most people forgot it fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's not the Alamo people I didn't forget.
But it's a nice poster though.
Yeah, no, it is good. No, that's good. Yeah, I like that a lot. I missed that one.
Yeah,
I'll through them. Yeah. All right. So I guess this is my number
4.
My number 4. So a little bit kind of more like a normal movie poster, I guess you could say. But something about it just really the lighting,
I find
the camera shot kind of looking up at Hellboy.
Yeah.
The big BPRD.
It makes him look even bigger than actually is.
Could he look taller?
Yeah. I find it kind of bland, personally.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I didn't pick it, because it's basically entirely gray. with just like a splash of
red. See, it fits a little bit with that minimalist kind of stuff that I like.
But gray is the worst possible. Like, you're better off
gray blue.
If you're going minimalist, you're better off just going black. Gray is the most wishy-washy. Like, I can't...
Fair.
Like, I can't commit to a color, so I'm just going to make a gray.
Yeah.
It's the worst. It's pretty much the worst color.
I really do like how they because of course he's red. That's and then of course the title of the film.
Yeah.
But this is in the sort of like nostalgia brain,
Sure.
like, oh, I would have put this poster on my wall kind of as a kid.
It's cool.
Kind of poster.
It's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. But
yeah, a little too gray for you. Yeah, need more pop.
Super underwhelming for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So that's my 4. So this is your 3.
Is this Night Watch?
Yeah.
So this is one where basically, if it hadn't been for a couple of minor points, it could have easily been my number 1.
Oh.
Because the actual
minor points are what stopped this from being on my list, and we probably have the same minor points.
So it's because I love that poster, except for the top tagline where it's like the new face of terror is, in quotes, cool as hell. With cool in like this kind of blue icy and hell in this red fiery, which is so cheeseball that like it almost hurts me physically to look at it. And then
because this is a good movie, that degrades both the movie and the poster
and I
so
looked
badly
to see if I could find
without it.
Well, what did like the actual original Russian release look like?
Yeah,
because this is obviously the international release. And I couldn't find anything that was definitely specifically the Russian release.
Yeah.
And I imagine that even if I had, it probably wouldn't be the same poster.
I couldn't find anything that was this poster without that writing.
Yeah, like in a perfect world, the Russian poster would just be that poster, but like more plain and just with like the title without the English.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So,
because even in the first chapter in an epic fantasy trilogy, which that's not even, and also then they never did the trilogy.
Right.
Only 2 movies ever came out.
So first of all,
like, don't promise.
I mean, it gets worse because, like, first of all, it's not like Lord of the Rings where like everything was pre-done and like they shot the movies and then they just had to like finish each one as needed, right? Like that was always like a trilogy of movies. Even though I allow. I mean,
that's not the poster.
I allow for it because they're movies and the way that movies are done. I allow for it. It drives me nuts when people call Lord of the Rings a trilogy because it's one book. But
it's because the movies were a trilogy.
Well, it's because it was released the books in 3 volumes
because it was too big.
And so people always think of it as 3 books when it's not. But with the movies, I allow for it to be considered a trilogy because it is 3 movies that were released at different times, and they just. I'm like, whatever. There's different rules for movies than for books. I guess.
For sure.
But yeah, when this came out, there was no. It's not like the second movie existed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those, like, you see this poster and you're like, bold claim, we'll see.
So they said the first chapter in an epic fantasy trilogy. First of all, I'm not sure how epic it is.
No.
I mean, yes,
it's a fun movie.
The money, what they were able to do for the money,
for the pennies that this movie was made for,
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The second one even more so.
Yes.
Because it's ridiculous what they do. And it does make you kind of think of like, oh man, I don't know. That's kind of maybe says a lot about about labor in
I'm sure
in Russia. But to say the first chapter in an epic fantasy trilogy, okay, well that's just marketing. But like,
it's still
it was not a trilogy. Like, even if they knew for sure they were going to make the second one at that point, which I doubt that they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. Yeah. But like, that still doesn't guarantee they're making all 3. First of all,
more from like, isn't it like a series of books or something?
Yeah, they're books. Also, it implies that like much as with like say like Lord of the Rings or something like that, where or like even like Harry Potter or something, it implies that it's something that like people were hotly anticipating. This super popular epic fantasy trilogy that like and love, and now you get to see the movie version.
And it's like, it's a book that
nobody heard of this outside of
exactly.
Russia. Right? Like from what I've always actually been interested in the books because of the fact that the movies are so changed away from, because they're for some reason the director, even though he decided to make these movies, he like really isn't like a fantasy guy, and
it's one of those
basically like heavily downplayed, right? Because like in the books, like they literally are called like referred to as mages, and like and everything is like very like more magical.
Well, it's because the movies wanted them.
And granted, I'm not a big fantasy fan myself, but the idea of like a contemporary, like an urban fantasy, that is very cool to me because it's so little done.
Yeah, especially at this time.
Right? So for them to do that, I was like, okay, that's interesting.
This might have been like the start of that, really.
But the problem is that everything I heard at the time, and I assume it's not gotten any better, the translations of the books for the English versions are really poor.
Time to learn Russian.
Well, no, this is probably the exact wrong time to learn Russian.
Fair. It's not the language's fault.
Yeah.
But but
it's not something you want to be like sitting on the bus reading learn how to learn Russian book.
Fair.
Anyways, but yeah, so it's a terrible tagline. They're both terrible taglines, if you want to call them two taglines. And the cool as hell thing with the blue and
it's like so much that mars such an awesome
it's so
poster.
Cheeseball because those colors don't go with the rest of the poster. They have nothing to do with it. They're completely just like haphazardly superimposed. It's absolutely horrible. But
the good parts
ignoring
of
those, everything else is amazing.
Well, I mean, this is why it's this high on your list.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I put it like in the middle.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for those lame things, this could be an easy
Well, it would have been
one
on my list, too.
This could easily be my one.
Yeah.
And it's down here because of that, because that's just so dumb.
Yeah. I had very much the same. When I saw this poster, I was like, oh, yeah, Nightwatch, yeah. Oh, that poster. Oh, I opened it up, I'm like, oh, they ruined that poster. And I didn't even look at it after
that's
that.
Fair. I had to still go for it because I like it so much.
I did a brief, like Google image search, like, oh, is there a version of the poster without the cool as hell on it? Not that I could find. Oh, well.
No, because I think that is the international
it is literally
poster, so, yeah.
Which, yeah. So that's, the worst part is, that means it's not even like a, oh, well. Whatever. It's too bad because it is so
very... the Daywatch poster.
Oh, the Daywatch poster is very good. Yes. Yes.
Like so like
all right. So my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on my minimalist BS here.
You have this one. I actually almost went for it.
Yeah. Really I happen to have also seen this movie.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few movies from this. Saw quite a lot of movies from that
shouldn't
era.
Be shocking.
Yeah. But really like the layout and everything of this poster.
Yeah.
Super minimalist, but very striking.
It's really good, and it almost made it for me. I'll tell you exactly why I didn't.
Because you knew I would.
No.
Oh, okay.
The weird, like, how the title is...
like wonky?
All really wonky and distorted. Yeah. I do not like that.
You don't like that, eh?
I do not like that at all. Yeah. But, because it hurts my eyes to look at it.
It is a bit hard.
It hurts my brain.
It almost makes it a little bit hard to read the words.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like the last thing you want.
Fair.
For, when you're trying to feature the title. Like, if it's a poster where you're not featuring the title, where you're going purely based on the visual or on, like, the atmosphere of it, that's fine. But if it's something where you're actually featuring the title, then you should be able to read the title without, like, causing eye strain.
Yeah. It's got that interesting thing where it adds punctuation to the title.
Yeah.
You sometimes see that and then you're like, you actually go look up and like, no, there's no period at the end of that. Like, why did they add a period? Like,
well,
also,
famously,
the indicia is all very rarely messed with. Something that is very rarely messed with.
Yeah, usually it's just at the bottom.
It's actually at the same angle.
It actually looks fine. I actually don't have a problem with that.
No, but it's very
the whole
unique,
thing is great except for the
font, the font choice.
Except for the title.
Yeah.
Everything else is great.
Yeah. Very minimalized text on there. Yeah.
It's like for the punctuation thing. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? So that movie, the title does not have a question mark in it, even though it's
literally a question.
Yeah, and that was because supposedly it's like a superstition in like Hollywood movies, or like
to put a question mark.
Basically, that like a question mark in a title is like a bad luck for the movie or whatever, and so they weren't allowed to have a question mark.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Framed Robert Crumb? What about Bob?
Yeah.
I don't know if those movies have the punctuation.
I don't know if they did or not. It may have been something where later on that was abandoned. Like it may have been.
But I didn't know that about that. In my head,
vestige.
it just has a question mark after it. But no, you're right, it doesn't.
As an English speaker, you just automatically Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a question. You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild. Huh.
Yeah.
This is just criminal. Period.
Yeah, I sort of like that. Like I like the whole like the full stop thing.
Yeah.
It makes it feels very like snappy. It feels very like bam, that's the title.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
No tagline, under the title. I mean, it does have a tagline, but
I was gonna say right above, no, it's great. Yeah. I just hate the way that the title's written, but everything else is great.
It is a bit weird. I wonder why they did it that way.
Because they hate me.
Oh, it's personal. It's very personal.
It's absolutely 100% personal.
Oh, okay. All right. So this will be your number 2. Ah, yeah.
The Aviator. So here's the thing.
That's real gray.
Well,
but
it's not actually gray.
No,
it's like grayscale. It's
gray
like black
scale.
and
It's
white.
gray. It's black and white photo. Yes,
it's
that's
not
the thing.
The color.
It's not colored gray. Yes, that's what I was gonna get to. Yeah.
And it also has very prominent color there.
Yeah. Well, the sunglasses with the aviators with the sky in them. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I did not know that this was the actual poster for this movie.
Oh, really?
Because the one that I'm familiar with is like what's on like DVD covers and like the video release
with the plane and the
the video
release.
The video release poster, which was a poster because it was also like on the wall at video stores, and it was what was used to advertise it. It's on the DVD covers, all that sort of stuff. I thought that was the poster, and that one is extremely mediocre. So when I saw this, the fact that this was the theatrical release one, I was like, well, that's very nice.
It's very clean.
I love that sort of when they do the thing with the like a vivid color put into like a grayscale, like a
like
a
black
and it's
and
even
white.
lighting it up.
Yes,
like you can see the colored light on the grayscale, skin and stuff, which is cool.
It's the longer I look at the poster, the less it looks like Leonardo DiCaprio.
And it's Leonardo DiCaprio from 20 years ago, so his face is, not repulsive to look upon. No, I'm not saying it is now either. I'm just saying, like,
he's like a good, young, good-looking guy.
Back then, he was even more, handsome, as it were.
Because, like, poor Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, he looks fine, but he just, he's just, he's not as much of a pretty boy anymore.
No.
Which I think is, like, asset as an actor.
Sure.
Because I think, like, the pretty boy thing can really hold you back
as
an actor and give people the wrong impression.
Yeah, well, it stopped him from earning an Oscar. He had to, like, really grunge himself up to actually get that Oscar.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that way. I thought you just had to, like, wait long enough and they eventually would just get it. But maybe you're right. Maybe it had to get grungy.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the movie he did get the Oscar for was like the Oscar-worthy movie that he's done. This is a movie he could have earned an Oscar for.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But no, that's a really good poster. It was in my also-rans. Yeah. I really like it.
It also fits too, like the character-wise, just that sort of like, Howard Hughes being such an iconic and sort of like impactful, like he's
the grayscale, the style of the poster, the grayscale with the adds like a gravitas to the
it's good.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Yeah.
I definitely was debating in myself like where exactly it should be because I don't necessarily think it's the best, but I was like, well, do I put it below the Night Watch poster with those terrible problems?
That bumps that up to 2, but that's...
And then I was like, maybe even like does Alamo deserve
it's not better than the Alamo. It's not better than the Alamo poster. No, I think you got it right.
But I was like, in the end, I'm like, it's not my favorite thing to be too, but I was like, it's so clean and so like, it just does what it's trying to do so well that even though it's not necessarily like the best or like in another year, this wouldn't necessarily be this high.
Sure.
It may not even be on the list in another year if it was a stronger year.
Sure.
But I was just like, sure.
Yeah, no.
2. Let's go 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of 2s, I actually don't recall what mine is, so let's find out together. Oh, right.
This is another one that was on my maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had never seen this before.
Me either. There's actually two posters. There's like a theatrical British and a theatrical American one. This is the British one. The American one just has like the live cast on it. No, it's just super bland. Just looks like nothing poster. But I really like this poster.
It's good. It was very close to me.
Yeah, some good.
It was just I think
colors.
Ultimately, there's just a slight I'm slightly off put by it in some ways, just because it has like a bit of an odd the whole art thing is a little bit.
Well, it's got the style.
The style's a little bit not really my thing. It's cool though.
Yeah,
and
in some ways, it almost just looks like it's a piece of art that they just used for a poster.
Yeah,
like you take all the text off here. Oh, that's just some art. It doesn't necessarily look like it's like advertising a movie,
which is cool.
Yeah. I
really like that because I hate it when
with the loss of the painted movie poster, like that kind of has completely gone away, right? Like
but even those, I mean, like a painted movie poster, a lot of times was just like, well, this could have just been a picture.
Yeah. So often it's like, oh, you just painted a scene from the movie.
Yeah, or it's just like the main character brr, and it's just like.
Yeah. Well, like that's what I'd say like to Night Watch's like credit, take all the text off of that.
Yeah.
That's just a cool piece of art.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I just like it so much that I had to have it on the list, even though it has those really lame things added to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for example, like the up in the corner, it's got the cast there. That's kind of neither here nor there. Like they really didn't like put.
No,
much
it's
effort
good
into
though.
that.
Like it's less,
but it's very legible.
It's unintrusive.
Yes, and that's
the color and everything blends in nicely.
Yeah.
Like I think definitely what I would say what I really like about it is a lot of posters are basically just. I mean, posters are literally the part of the marketing for the movie.
Right.
They are marketing for the movie. But posters that are just a piece of marketing, as opposed to being...
I mean, those are the worst ones.
As opposed to being art on in and of itself, is when I'm really just like, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. Well,
if you can make a poster that is its own art...
Yeah.
As well as doing the job of being a movie poster.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same rule for posters applies to movies themselves. You can make a movie that people will go to the theater and see, and it's not art. It's not creative. It's not, but you can also make it those things, You can also make movies a piece of art, rather than just being a way to like it's funny and grift $10 $10 show my age $10 to go see a movie.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I guess depends on where you are.
If it's Tuesday, it's
sure,
almost,
cheap
it's
Tuesday.
Almost $10.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 12 or whatever.
Yeah, which is, gosh, what happened to like $5 Tuesdays? I don't know.
30 years ago.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to your number one.
Mm-hmm. So this is bending the rules a little bit because this is not strictly speaking a poster.
Oh, is it not the poster?
Well, it's like a one sheet advertisement. Okay. So because it has
because this is what I saw for the poster.
Is the
in
cinemas 8 October?
Yeah.
And it has all the review blurb.
All the review. That's why I couldn't. Yeah,
it's way too much.
Yeah.
But it's. I just really like the way the composition here, the color palette here.
Yeah.
Because that's the actual poster.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because I saw
it's the same.
It's the same poster without all the text and sort of slightly tighter cut in.
The way the title thing is done different.
Yeah. Well, it's not as wide. It's more cut in.
I much prefer this title.
Oh God, I wish you could get a version without all that text on it.
Yeah, well, the fact that those review things are made, they're so big, but ignoring that, the title is so nice. It's way better than the regular theatrical poster one, right? It has this little strip at the bottom.
I didn't even notice what that
movie
was.
Scenes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
which is a really good way to do that, and it offsets and balances everything off really nicely.
Yeah. Well, it's just showing a bunch of like the rest of the cast there.
Yeah, and the color grading and the color grading for the actual shot is so much nicer than the standard poster.
Yeah. I love the title, like the way they did with the man on fire and the way they connected with the lines and stuff. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, like the regular one doesn't have that. It's just a
plain,
It's just a plain, and it's like this like yellowy kind of.
Yeah, well, the color grading's totally different. It's more yellow than orange, which is no, the orange is so much nicer.
So if you could just kind of ignore the massive text overlay of the
put my hand over it here, like yes, it's everything such a good poster,
so nice. Yeah, and so I was like. Again, kind of like with Night Watch, I was like, the really annoying part, unfortunately, I just have to basically ignore.
Yeah.
And focus on the rest because the rest is so good.
Yeah.
That, like...
Well, it's a similar problem to the Night Watch one, which is like an amazing poster marred by like some marketing crap.
Yeah. In a perfect world, that part wouldn't be there. Yeah. But otherwise, it is so good that I had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it has to be this.
I also kind of like how there's... Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning, like they're sort of, it's like half photo, half painted. Like it's kind of a very interesting style on them. The way it's like it's some kind of filter.
I think it's just the way it came out.
Yeah,
it's like a filter, and it's just the way it came out. I don't think it is painted.
No, but no, yeah. I saw this one. I was like. Oh, but they ruined again. Oh, they ruined it.
But even with that, it's still had to better, and it's still better than the regular version.
Yes, so much better.
Even with that, so I was like,
okay,
I gotta go with this.
Yeah, nice.
Because that bottom part is so good, and that color is so good compared to the original.
Yeah, big orange, lots of orange.
To the other version,
across our posters for this year.
Well, it's a very striking, very attractive. That's why explosions are so beautiful.
Yeah. I get that yellow and that orange and that rich colors. So then I guess this is my number one. Speaking of orange.
Wow.
Yeah, I really like this. It was one of those, I saw it and I was like, oh, I think that might be my number one before I had like a lot of my other stuff picked.
Yeah.
I really like it. Simple, nothing too fancy, but just the zombies, but the way they're kind of like, I don't know, like it's like streaking down into the, and streaking into
sort of a sketchy.
Yeah. And then, but also like going into white rather than black, which is the sort of the standard like horror thing,
or keeping it like
just keeping it the orange
the top.
the orangey red on the top there. We did this movie for
me
the
that
podcast.
actually works against it. But,
oh really? You don't like that? I like that contrast.
It's too it's
too much, too bright, too different. I like the way they wrote, put together Dawn of the Dead is just like nice, simple, just really, it kind of does everything I like in a poster without doing anything I don't like, which really hit it for me, and it was so just like, oh, I love this poster, and so I had to go and make it my. Go and make my one.
It's okay. It was never really a contender for me.
Oh, yeah.
I will give it credit on the fact that I'm glad that they didn't try to do some kind of, like, okay, well...
Oh, like they didn't try to revisit?
Well, do some sort of, like, rip-off of the original.
Yeah.
Which would have been really bad. But even worse than that would have been if they'd just done, like, a very typical... like 2000s.
Oh, yes.
Get a picture of all the characters. Or
what if they were in what if all the actors were in little boxes around the screen? Yeah.
So they didn't do any of that. They went for the artsy route. So I give them props on that.
It's so not like what I thought they would do for something like this. That it's almost like wait, is this the actual poster?
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, I know. But that's why when I saw it, my initial thought was, oh, that's some modern artist version.
They went an artsy route, which I totally respect. I respect that they didn't try to just redo the original. But I just don't personally like it.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, But and I like neither here or there as far as the poster goes, but I did quite like that as a remake.
Yeah, I mean, my only real problem with it is that it basically, well, twofold. Obviously, it it pretty much caused the whole running zombie phenomenon, which I hate. But also, it kind of caused the whole like glut of like how zombie movies became like the rise of like zombie movies back to precedent, and then just being this constant like, oh look, there's like 20 zombie movies every year. And it being such a
it got a little out of control there.
Yeah, and it's basically because of that movie.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
In that way, it bothers me because
it has a negative legacy.
Yeah,
but,
it's not its fault. It wasn't trying to do that. It's a very strong.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, of course, the original film is like one of my favorite movies. So the fact that it did something quite different, but like it still has some really cool stuff. And I mean, as far as remakes go, it's pretty strong. It's not as good as the original, but almost no remake is. But on the scale of like like terrible remake to like actually decent remake, it's definitely higher on that scale. Pretty much started literally started Zack Snyder's career as a director because it's his first movie. And it kind of started James Gunn's kind of journey towards mainstreamness. Because like before this he was just doing like trauma films and that weird crap. Not that there's anything wrong with that if that's what you're into. But
it did.
We would never have had we would never have had like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and all this like mainstream work. If not for that movie. I guess there's some who would say that they wish that that Zack Snyder hadn't had a career because of that movie. But he has a career basically because
he does what he does and he's good at it whether you like it or not. That's a different story. But
so it's very significant in that regard because it's very significant to both of their careers and very significant to like that genre and kind of bringing that genre back again for good or ill. Personally, I'm glad that it was brought it back, but I feel like it's been overdone since. And I hate running zombies. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty cool movie.
All right, so let's spin the wheel here to find out what we're going to do next episode.
Yeah, put me on the wheel.
I'm going to hit the shuffle button a bunch of times here.
Yeah.
And then let's spin this bad boy, see where we're going. 1956. Wow, that was very close to 1974. Yeah, mid-50s.
We've done 50. We've done like a late 50s.
I think it's another
and early 50s.
Yeah. Like most decades, somehow we've
into the middle.
Yeah, we've bookended most of the decades, except for like the 80s and 90s, which of course we've done the most from. But trying to recall, like right off the top of my head, like what movies came out that year. But
that's one that doesn't really.
Nothing immediately springs to mind.
Forbidden Planet.
Okay, all right.
Around the World in 80 Days, which by the way, the 2004 version was on like my possibles list.
Really?
I really like that poster. Well, the way the way they did the title particularly.
Well, it's most of the poster is the title. Yeah. That wasn't a bad one. Yeah.
So I ended up not having to use it, but it was definitely on my like maybe. Okay. King and I. There's some pretty big. 56.
But do they have good posters?
Yeah, well, I guess.
Tune into next episode to find out.
I'm alright with it. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a strong one, actually.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Chris.
This is it.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.